There we go. What's happening, ladies and gentlemen? I don't know what's going on, but it seems like when this is not happening, I feel incomplete. Um, it's strange. It's like being in that meditative state um, helps me make it through the day, and it's becoming almost a habit to be in this walking meditation from day to night. And when it doesn't happen, I start to freak out a little bit, which is stupid, I know. But whatever, it came back with a vengeance. And there's things that I have asked for, and there's things I haven't. What I didn't ask for was to see this preparation process take place of these people from the new earth that were going to be traveling back in time, specifically incarnating back in time, sometimes to their own bodies from the past for various different purposes. And I I can't put away Octavia. I'm sorry. I just don't want to get up right now. Okay, and first things first. One thing I need to explain is that I really try to go at these without a bias, which is so incredibly hard to do. We all have our natural biases. Some of us like to think that we are even and equal, but that's often not the case. If you really look deeper into your frame of thinking, into your how you go about your day, you'll probably realize that you're a lot more biased than you think, especially when it comes to political nonsense, of course. Um, but I asked, okay, so we discussed the actual sun, the dilating corona of the sun turning into a black hole, essentially, after this massive catastrophic coronal mass ejection, which is the birthing of Horus. We discussed that this entire time. I haven't seen the actual effects of the blast from the sun itself onto the earth. What I saw was the aftermath, right? So the rivers of lava that would cool down and would turn into this electric soil that would heal the land. So whatever I was observing could have been processes that were taking place for decades, for all I know. I don't know. What I want to know is the immediate effect of the solar flash. And I said, try to go at this with no bias. If I was going to see rainbows and roses and fluffy purple dogs just frolicking about and being super gay and lovely, then that's what I would say. Okay. But unfortunately, I have to go on. I have to go based on the first things that come to mind. Okay. This is how to operate with this stuff, with these sort of mental downloads. The first thing that immediately comes, that's what I go by. Because if you try to uh, go about, changing things mentally minutes later, hours later, it's just not the same. Then you're putting in a lot of your own bias to what you're seeing. So what I saw was not good. Okay, first and foremost, we have a solar shield. Okay, it's a sort of cocoon, a transparent cocoon that is enveloped around the entire globe. This is a mitigation measure to prevent specifically a catastrophe from taking place when Horus births, which would result in the world ending entirely. And it's already having catastrophic effects, actually, without anything overtly noticeable, because without that solar shield right now, we would probably be blasted at the bare minimum tons of UVC and gamma ray, even gamma ray radiation from the sun. And we would be melting. We would be frying, we'd be melting, which is already happening, but it would be a lot worse without this transparent. It's almost like a liquid-like screen-like substance that is mitigating the effects of a dilating corona from the sun. And also, it would be much brighter than it already is without it, if you can imagine, but it's not going to help. because before the event actually takes place, this shield is going to start breaking down in various places around the world. And people are going to start seeing really strange things. Um, Purple and like neon flashes in the sky that don't look like lightning at all. This is electrical, basically malfunctions within the screen itself. You'll also hear a lot of sounds that sound like dry lightning, and you'll hear a lot of popping sounds and unusual noises coming from the sky, which, as you already know, have already been happening, but multiply this by 100 times, because before the actual coronal mass ejection takes place, you're going to have a daily, incessant popping noise in the sky, dry lightning 24/7, flashing lights. You're going to hear ringing in your ears. You're going to hear this massive ringing effect. It's going to be absolute strangeness to the highest degree. And people are not going to be able to function. They won't be able to work. They won't, like, things will be so hot and so just unbearable to the human condition that society will basically cease to function entirely before the event. And this is assuming we won't have the Third World War, which we more than likely will. So, in that case, then it's all different. But initially, there's going to be a portion of this solar shield that completely breaks over a very specific area of North America. And this is literally minutes before the actual coronal mass ejection. And this portion is going to break over the Great Lakes region of the United States. This is what I'm seeing. And there won't be much time remaining before the CME actually hits the Earth. Maybe a few hours for preparation measures. Um, but when the shield breaks down, this coronal mass ejection is going to completely just evaporate, just vaporize that whole landmass, that whole Great Lakes region. And when I say vaporize the lakes, I literally saw that happening. They immediately became dry. All the water was sucked up, like there was nothing there. And it all became like this. There was no distinguishable features any longer. It was no Michigan. There was nothing that you could differentiate between what was Wisconsin or Illinois or Ontario. That entire region, for whatever reason, was absolutely catastrophically decimated. The water just sucked up dry like that as the solar shield breaks when the CME hits. There's more. There's a lot more. Hold on. There will be a crack that opens in the middle of the lower 48 of the US, but it's going to go much farther. This crack will start in the Gulf of Mexico, and it will go in a diagonal trajectory, and it will end at the Yukon River in Alaska. So it'll go through substantial portions of Canada, and I see in this crack mounds of that same lava coming out, right? That same lava that's going to cool down and have that healing effect later. But this is like the central point. So this is the main river of lava, this crack, okay? And out of that main river of lava is going to be the tributaries of lava, which cover entire land masses, which then cool and have the healing properties necessary for the new world, hence the new dimension. But this crack is not just a crack, okay? And I've heard stuff like this before, okay? I have over the last few years. But again, I have to still go by what I'm seeing. But what I did not hear about was when this crack happens. So here's the two pieces of land, and they split. One of the pieces of land on the eastern side is going to be raised dramatically. We're talking, I don't know how tall, but ridiculously taller than the other side. It's gonna be like it's gonna be noticeable from space that this eastern side is much taller than the west, which is where the mountains are, which is weird. I don't know how that's possible, but that's what I was seeing. Thirdly, um, one really weird thing I'm having trouble describing is I'm seeing something happening in the ocean, and it is west of Washington State in the Pacific. I'm seeing something like a massive 1,000-mile long whirlpool of water. And first I thought that this was like a hurricane because it has that whirlpool motion, right? But no, this is actually the water. Like there was like a hole in the earth or something, I don't know, but it was sucking it in. And this whirlpool just kept going on forever and ever. It almost felt like months. And the water was like black and white. It wasn't blue anymore. It was dirty. It was filthy. It was filled with, it just looked like a toxic soup from hell. And so, from my understanding, is that North and South America will be facing the sun when this occurs. And the brunt of the damage will be in the Great Lakes region. Why? I don't know. But one more thing is the fires. So I didn't see fires necessarily just envelop the entire continent. There was plots of areas that had fires everywhere, but there was a truly massive fire that I saw um, that spanned literally hundreds of miles in diameter, sort of like this whirlpool in the ocean. This fire was in the region of like British Columbia and Alberta, and it almost looked like it was a hole itself. Like it was weird. Like it was this almost twirling like a whirlpool itself, this gigantic fire specifically in that region. And it does sort of almost align very close to where that crack goes through as it goes from the Gulf of Mexico up all the way to the Yukon River in Alaska. Okay, and then there's this massive fire, but the entire continent is on fire sporadically. There's little fires North and South America everywhere. Um, I didn't see anything else in terms of other land masses or bodies of water on Earth, even though I asked, my attention was all focused for whatever reason on North America, and for whatever reason, obsessively focused on this whirlpool and the ocean. I don't talk to me about science and all that crap. I don't know how this is even possible, but I was getting this feeling that this solar translucent solar shield will somehow still protect a substantial portion of the world, but nonetheless, this event will still result in the death, what I was told, of 3 billion people. Right away or not, I don't know, or the aftermath, I don't know, but 3 billion people as a result. And apparently, this is not the intention of the elite class who are wishing to resurrect Horus onto our realm to kill that many. They actually don't want to, which is surprising because you keep hearing about depopulation. Their method of depopulation, ladies and gentlemen, is slow decline, is what they wish for. This catastrophe will not be intended, but it will happen um, because the birthing will be so violent. It will be so much more than what the shield is able to handle. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you to move out of the Great Lakes. Like, I mean, my dad doesn't live far. He's in Pennsylvania from Lake Erie and all that. I'm not telling you that. I know I have subscribers in Ontario. No, stay there. I mean, whatever. And I'm not saying this is going to happen 100%. No. And if it does, then cool, you'll get out of this place. Big deal. It's not like all these people selling everything they have, moving. Come on. Just whatever. You'll be home and I'll see you there and we'll all have a jolly old time. We won't have to be here anymore with lovely little king from Egypt hell.